Hello and welcome to the Meraklis Being series. I'm your host and self awareness coach Shweta Shivraman, and this is a show where we discover, learn, and implement lessons from others' life journeys. Others who I believe epitomize miraculous in its true spirit. Individuals who live life to the fullest, who worked hard on themselves to reach where they are, and are passionate in what they do. Today's speaker is someone who I had a chance to interact with purely by chance on social media, I think, and a person who introduced me to moon circles, and I also had the privilege to learn yoga from. So, thank you so much for being here, Shaili, and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Shweta, and I'm so honored to be here and contribute.
So, looking forward to our conversation today. Would you like to introduce yourself to the listeners before we get started?
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Shaili and I teach yoga and I also facilitate Yoga Nidra classes. I'm into alternative healing, angel therapy sessions, or as everybody knows it, angel card reading sessions. And I'm just trying to make the most of living in this time right now, and I think that it's such a nice way of contributing through this podcast, and I'm so happy that I have this opportunity. And thank you for I'm so glad that we had the chance to meet on social media, because I feel like your page as well is so inspiring, and I learn so much just from your posts. And I'm just really happy to be here and contribute in any way that I can.
I'm so glad to have you, and I think I experienced angel card reading as well the first time we did our moon circle, right? That's where we had our first conversation, and yes, super glad to have you here. So, like I'd mentioned in the show introduction, this is purely focused on self-transformation. And before we go deeper, just wanted to understand, what would you probably say were your pivotal moments in self-transformation?
I think so. I think for me, I feel like I transform a little every single day, but I feel like the pivotal moments would probably be when I was kind of stepping into my yoga journey. The time that before I stepped into being a yoga teacher, I think I was extremely confused. I didn't know what my purpose was. I had many questions, and I also had many things that I wanted to do. So I feel like the whole process, of being confused, of finding my way, of trying things that didn't work out, and then finally doing my teacher training and realizing that this is something that I want to do with my life. I think that whole process was extremely transforming for me. And I think it's after that I feel like recently I think this whole pandemic since 2020 has also been extremely transformative for me, because overnight I feel, as for everybody else, my life changed too. From teaching yoga, with people in a community, in a class, in a studio, I had to quickly switch to online. And for me, earlier I would never agree to teaching anybody online, because I thought it was quite silly, to be honest. Because the whole meaning of yoga, to practice with a teacher, is to be around that teacher, to be around the community, and to kind of facilitate that collective process and healing and transformation. So it was really hard, and I think it was also equally transformative, because I kind of had to push myself through these limiting beliefs that I had about myself, that I can't teach online, or how will I be able to offer the service that I've been offering offline for so long. So the whole process of that really, I think, transformed me as a teacher, where I kind of realized that I can do it. And even though it is a little different, I now find it quite enjoyable. And of course, I miss teaching at a studio, and I think I'm hoping that soon we can do that again. But yeah, I feel like this has been extremely transformative, and not just in my career form, but even mentally, emotionally. There were many things that kind of had to come to surface when this pandemic hit. Just as it affects everybody collectively, I think it also affected everybody individually. So I feel like there was a lot of internal work that I also have been doing. It's a journey, but it kind of started through, during 2020, through this pandemic. And yeah, I feel like I'm still in the process of, feeling this transformation or kind of working through it.
Right, right. I love how you started off by saying that you're transforming a little by little every single day, right? It's not a one-time shift that you make. You keep working on yourself, and personally, I'm very grateful that you overcame your limiting beliefs and taught online, because I think otherwise I wouldn't have had the chance to learn yoga from you. So super glad for that. But one thing that stood out to me was what you said when your transformation journey, that the start was extremely confusing, right? When you said that you really did not know who you were or what your purpose was, and that how did you manage that discovery when there was so much confusion about?
So the first thing I did was just try everything that I wanted to. Um, so I had one foot in literature, I had one foot in fashion, I had another hand in yoga, another hand in alternative healing. So it was like very confusing. Like, what do I want to do? And also, we are in a society where you have to think, when you're starting off your career, what is lucrative, monetarily, what is lucrative, what is not, and at the same time, I also wanted to enjoy my job. And I remember in school, the one thing that I kept telling myself is that no matter what I do, I want to wake up feeling like I want to start my day. Like I'm happy to go to work. I'm, very joyful and excited to go to work. I don't want to wake up and say that, oh, I have to go to work. So I think that really kind of pushed me to a place where I didn't settle till I felt like I had tried everything, even though I was extremely confused. And there were times that I questioned myself and I said, why can't I just do everything? But then the minute I started trying out different avenues and, got a taste of a little bit of everything, I went to fashion school for a year, after which I did literature in college. Then I did a year of fashion, and then I did my teacher training. So after all of that, I feel like the minute I did my teacher training, something clicked, and it just made me feel like this is it. Like, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to, offer myself or whatever I know to the world through yoga. And yeah, since then it's been an ongoing journey. But I would just say that for me, confusion helped, because I feel like confusion ultimately leads to clarity. And sometimes you just have to allow yourself to be confused. It's okay to be confused, and it's okay to want to do so many different things, because eventually that confusion will lead you to doing something that you're a little more tilted towards. And I think you always find that, because it's an inner knowing more than anything.
Right, right. Beautiful. I always keep saying this, that confusing opens up possibilities, right? Because if you're so okay and comfortable with everything, you're not going to be seeking out for more.
Absolutely.
Right, right. So one of the things that probably stood out to me, even in your yoga classes, Shaili, is how you balance both the performing the asanas and actually doing them, and also the restorative practices, right? There is enough focus on actually resting and sinking in and just being in your classes as well. So what do you think is the role of this rest in our transformation and in our everyday lives?
So I think rest is extremely important, and I feel that even more so now, only because we live in a world where, you have to do all the time. Like we're so action oriented. A lot of us are taught to be more in our masculine ever since the time we are in school, that you have to work hard to make your money, you have to run around, or you have to put in that effort. Like everything is efforting. And while that may be important, I feel like to balance out the nature of who we are, rest is so important. And I don't think there has been enough emphasis on restoration. And I feel like before you take flight or before you start a race, there's always that moment where the coach will say, ready, set, and you're on your knees and you're waiting, and that for me is a very important pause that we all should pay attention to and kind of take our time with that, because it's only once we fully immerse ourselves in that pause and take that time can we truly kind of push ourselves into that flight, into that momentum. And usually we all start by just running and doing and pushing and grinding, and then we burn out. So I think today with Yog Nidra, my only aim is to offer this practice so that people can kind of find that balance between restoration and activation. And even through my classes of Yogasana, I mean, you've experienced that we always start with something that's dynamic, and then the last half of the class is always slowing down, because there are certain asanas that really facilitate your parasympathetic nervous system. And once you step or tap into your parasympathetic, that's when your body truly starts to repair and heal. And once you finish your restoration, you always wake up feeling refreshed. You don't feel burnout. And I think to kind of work or achieve anything from that space is so wonderful. It's lovely. You feel more efficient. You can work more efficiently. And one of my teachers said, somebody I met in Auroville actually, said something very interesting. He said that our cells are so used to stimulation. We're always stimulated, whether it's through external stimuli, like maybe it's interacting with media or people. There's always something going on, whether even if we're just running a household, managing things, managing everybody, managing your family, managing your work. And then you come to the thoughts. Even our own thoughts and emotions stimulate us in a way that we don't understand. Even a simple thought can stimulate your nervous system to believing that you are in a flight or fight response. So that in itself is so, I wouldn't say aggressive, but it is exhausting for our systems. And we are used to being in autopilot or overdrive. So this teacher said that our cells are so stimulated all the time that it's so important to kind of ease ourselves, ease our body, ease our nervous system, and even few minutes of rest, which is, I'll come into what true rest means in a minute, can really do wonders to your physical system, your mental body, and your emotional body. And I just want to say the definition of rest. This is by Satyananda Saraswati, who is the founder of Yog Nidra. And he, in his book, describes that rest actually, scientifically, is the cessation of all external stimuli. So for us, rest would probably mean, putting on a show on Netflix, or lazing in a couch, or reading the newspaper, or having a cup of coffee. But that still is external stimulation. You're still interacting with the media, you're still taking in information, you're still drinking something. So, everything is working. Your body is working, your mind is working, your nervous system is active. So he says that in order to feel and experience true rest, one should cut off completely from all that stimuli, including light. So light also activates the pineal gland, which is why when you do shavasana or when you do yoga nidra, the teacher will always tell you to maybe, have your curtains drawn or have an eye mask on your eyes, and make sure that you feel comfortable. You are in an environment where you're not stimulated at all. So I feel that's when once your nervous system kind of slows down, that's when you can truly understand what it is to relax or rest. And we do glimpse into this when we sleep. So between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m., your body goes into the rest and repair mode. And that is it. The body actually only needs those 1 to 2 hours where it actually truly rests and repairs. Now, if we don't get that 2 hours, even though we sleep for 10 hours, you're not going to feel rested because your body is still somehow stimulated, or your mind is. Which is why yoga nidra and doing a shavasana after your class is so important. And I think you must have heard me saying it in class that the last half of class is the most important half, because that's when your body actually absorbs all the things that we have done in the first half. So I think rest is something that everybody can incorporate in small ways, whether it's concentrating on your shavasana at the end of the day, or even if you don't practice yoga, just laying down on your mat or on the floor and just connecting with the earth and just giving yourself 10 minutes of just being present, just being with the breath. And of course, we do a lot of that in yoga nidra. So that's a guided practice, but that's basically my view on rest.
Right. Thank you for clarifying the definition, because I think we've misinterpreted the word rest in so many ways. It's always still consuming. Like, even scrolling social media is considered rest because you're really technically chilling. You're not doing anything there, but all of that is consuming information. And I've got to tell you, Suptpadkonasana is like my go-to practice at the end of every day. I feel so rejuvenated every time I do that and come back. And it's like a reset, despite a long day. Once I do that and I'm back up, I feel energized to do a lot more after that. And I find that very interesting how it works.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's the whole point of doing restorative asanas, where you feel comfortable and rested so that you can move on with your day or function more efficiently.
And talking about yoga, I think one thing also that I remember, I think it was you mentioning it somewhere on social media, where you said you don't recommend saying yoga asanas for weight loss or yoga asanas for back pain specifically, and you always encourage yoga as a lifestyle. What do you mean when you say that yoga as a lifestyle?
So I think the way yoga has evolved in today's day and age, we see a lot of us trying to knowingly or unknowingly copy the West. And there's a lot of focus on the physicality of the pose or the practice, so much so that we've forgotten our roots. We've forgotten that our rishis and sages actually practiced yoga only so that they could sit in meditation. It was literally just, a practice to open up the body, loosen up the body so that they could sit for long periods of time in sadhana, in meditation. And their entire lifestyle was in union. So yoga, to break up the word, it literally means union, or to yoke, or to join. And yoga as a lifestyle, I would say, is that having everything that you do, your entire world should be coming into a union. So union of the body, mind and soul, union of your actions, thoughts and being and doing. So everything is integrated. And I think yoga in itself teaches you over time to be integrated. And I think that's what mainly our sages and rishis were trying to pass down, that encouraging us to do the yogasanas, but to also incorporate everything else that we do as a whole system, to connect with the five elements which is in nature and recognize those five elements within our body. And the integration of all of that, would be the manifestation is yoga. So I think yoga as a lifestyle would basically, in today's day and age, mean that you integrate your sleeping habits, your eating habits, your lifestyle, the media you consume, the friends you hang out with, everything, your mental chatter, it all has to integrate. It should integrate in a way which is united. So it's like your mind says something and your body does something else. So that disparity in itself is what causes afflictions or vrittis or disease or anything that isn't or imbalance. So yoga in a sense aims at bringing all of that together, to integrate that. So I think to put it very simply, yoga as a lifestyle is full integration of your whole entire world, of your life.
Right. Beautiful, right? So it's not just one aspect of, working out the physical body dynamically, but every other aspect of your life, from thoughts to actions and behaviors. So I love that. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah.
The question that also comes to my mind is that now it feels like almost the entire world is sort of in that phase of awakening, right? With COVID, there's a lot more focus on pausing and reflecting. And how do you see this with relation to the work that you do, or with yoga and rest and transformation? How do you see COVID shifting that?
So I think COVID has definitely have me rest more and reflect more, for sure. And I think the whole idea of a forced pause, like the whole world was forced to stop. The whole world was forced to kind of reflect and to change. And I think that in itself is very transformative. And it can be. I mean, of course, if you see it, it's all about how you see this change. It has been very tough. It has been extremely crucial for a lot of people. And I think in terms of my work or my life, I feel like COVID has definitely shaken up my reality in many ways. Especially the relationship with myself and my self-defeating beliefs, and the way it really made me think of how do I really want to express myself in the world, if this is how it's going to be, if everything is going to come to being online, how am I going to offer myself? How can I do that? Something that I had never even dreamed of. And not going to work, having work from home, that is also tough for a lot of people, because then the boundaries get blurred. Where do you separate work and home time? So I think the process of finding a balance in all of this has been very illuminating for me. And I think COVID can be taken as a blessing, in the sense, because if we were going to go on this way as a collective, as humanity, we would truly destroy our earth. And I think when we did stop and pause, and when this happened, it was all over the news, right? That there were the earth looked more green from Google Photos. There were fish and dolphins that were not coming into a certain territory were actually swimming freely, because there was no dirt. There was no, we were not dirtying the waters. We were indoors. There was less noise pollution. There was less air pollution. And I think that really gives us a glimpse into, it's like the universe is showing us the mirror and saying, hey, you guys need to look at what you've been doing and kind of now take accountability for it, and say that, okay, we need to make a difference in our own little way, whether it's at home where you kind of, you know, segregate your waste or don't use plastic. These are very small things that, you know, we can all start doing. And it's so amazing how so many people, when the pandemic hit, started sharing their stories, started sharing the little ways that they were making a difference. I started THC, the Healing Circle, actually when we went into lockdown, because I was actually, you know, planning it, and I didn't know when I was going to launch it, but it just felt like the right time, and it all just fell in together. And I know so many people who, you know, quit their jobs and are actually doing what they really want to do, because it gave us time to pause and reflect that, am I in the right job? Is this job really satisfying me emotionally, mentally? Okay, maybe it's making me a lot of money, but am I happy? So all of these questions. So I think COVID really made us all question everything, question our life, question our choices, question our goals. Where do we want to go from here? You know, and I think that has really, if you look at it from that perspective, I think that in itself is evolution. Like that in itself is humanity taking that step forward, one step forward into their well-being. And also when it comes to health, a lot of people realize that now is the time that you have to look after yourself, because if there's a virus going around town, you want to be protected. You want to do everything that you can to keep yourself healthy. So today a person would think twice that, what do I want to do with that extra half an hour? Maybe a meditation, maybe I want to go for a run, maybe I want to, you know, watch what I'm eating, maybe I want to change my lifestyle just so that I feel better and I can, you know, basically not just survive but thrive. So I think that's basically how I would see COVID.
Right. Beautiful. I think it's been a big pause and a reflection for a lot of people. And going back to the metaphor of the race that you gave, right? Maybe this is that pause that will apply in a different trajectory, not the one where we are headed, but maybe a bit more conscious, a bit more aware. Interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So one thing that I would probably ask here is that how do you see, the you said you do a lot of work in alternative healing and angel card and the connection, and how do you see this connection to the spirit in reference to one's own self transformation?
So I think everything is energy, right? Like we are energy in matter. So even the laptop, even all inanimate objects like tables, chairs, our phones, you know, everything is actually energy. So even our spirit, that is what we call our soul, our atma, is in a physical body. And I think that in itself is the first way to recognize that it's not just matter. There is more to what the eyes can see. And the easiest way to kind of tap into that is, to notice sensations and feelings. Like sometimes we have experiences that we cannot describe. There are feelings that we can't put into words. And in the same way, there are a lot of things that we can't put into words. For example, God. So if I ask you that, have you seen God? If I ask anybody who's super religious and who believes in God, have you seen God? And they would say, no, we haven't seen him. But then I would ask them, why do you believe in him? And they would say, because I do. Maybe because it's what you've grown up listening to, or maybe because you feel like God sits in a temple, or maybe you believe that, you were in a lot of pain one day and you asked for help, and, a stranger came and helped you, and you say, that was God for me. So it's the same thing with angels and spirits. I feel like, many people would question, why, like how can you say that angels exist? How can you say that there's a connection to the spirit realm? And I would say, why not? Just as one would believe in God without a body, why not believe in angels and, other spirits, guiding spirits? And angels come from in every Abrahamic religion, every script like the Bible, the Quran. Even in I don't know what the religious Jewish book is called, but it's all mentioned. The angels are all mentioned in that book. So, according to the Catholics, it's Archangel Michael. In the Quran, he's known as Mikhail. So there are different names, but they all are mentioned. And angels are basically they don't have a body. They are spirit. They are basically spirit beings that follow a law of non-interference, and they actually will help you only if you ask for help. So you can connect to the angels in the most informal way, where you don't have to pray to them like how you would pray to God, but you can talk to them as a friend and ask them for guidance. And there are different angels for different things. Like Michael is the protector, that he's the most famous angel, archangel, and he's called as God's right-hand man. Raphael is the healer. So if there's anything that you need healing with, physical or mental or emotional, he's the healer. Gabriel is for people who are in the creative business, for people who are writers, and if you have a block with writing, you can call upon Gabriel. Uriel is the one who shows you the light, who will light up your pathway whenever you feel like you are confused or you don't know which way to go. So like that, there are different angels for different purposes, and we all have an angelic team that we can't see, but we can feel their support if we ask them for help. So that's one thing that is very important to know about the angels, that they will never ever interfere in your life unless you want them to. They will never help you unless you ask them for help. So I think that mainly is my work with the angels, and just to kind of have people know that this is it's real. Like when you start to connect with the angels and talk to them, you can really feel or use them in your journey, and they can really help you transform your life for the better. And they are unconditional beings of love, because they will never judge you. They will never tell you that you have to do this or force you to do this. That's always your egoic mind or your ego mind that will tell you that you have to do this or you should not have done this. Angels will always guide you in a way that feels very, very easy, like a feather's touch or an awareness or a thought. So I feel like that is something that and it's really magical once you kind of start your communication. Once you start communicating with the angels, you really can't miss it anymore. Once you've seen it, you can't unsee it. It's something like that. And I think it's a great way of incorporating them into your life, and to help you with anything that you may need.
Right. Beautiful. And I completely agree with you where you say that, once you see them, you really cannot unsee them, because your entire perspective towards life and living changes completely.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Shaili, for sharing all of these honest answers. But before we let you go, we do have a rapid fire planned. So are you ready for it?
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So the rules are plain and simple. Of course, the first thought that comes to your head. I'll start with a couple of easy questions. Okay. How would you define yourself? Rational or intuitive?
Intuitive.
Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Morning person now. After yoga.
I like the caveat of now. Okay. Punctual or always behind schedule?
Always behind schedule. That's something I'm working on.
Okay, this should be interesting. Would you asanas or pranayama?
Hmm. I think pranayama in asanas.
Ooh. I like that. All right. And what's your ideal weekend? Reading a book or hitting the club?
Definitely reading a book because no clubs are open right now. But yeah, I think both. I think it's nice to have both, a little bit of both. But I think definitely right now reading a book.
Right, right, right. Interesting. Let's go on to the harder ones now. One lesson you'll probably tell your younger self.
Hmm. Fear is an illusion. Is it one sentence or do I need to?
No, you can expand it. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the last year, I feel like it's, for me personally, it's been a lot about facing my fears. And I think as a child, I've always been very, I wouldn't say fearful, but maybe cautious, or always felt like that fear stemmed, or the fear was leading me to doubt myself a lot. And I think this whole entire the last 2 years have just been me uh, pushing myself gently towards facing those fears. Whether a very silly example is making a video and posting it on social media. Um, I like, if you would ask me, a few years ago, I would just, I'm the most shy person who is very camera shy and who doesn't feel confident enough to put myself out there. And I feel like when it came to the pandemic and when everything switched online, when I started my page, I was petrified to even go on a live or even to do this podcast. It's, for me, any kind of public speaking or putting myself in a spotlight is extremely nerve wracking. But I feel like the more I practiced it and the more my intention and my desire to really kind of offer what I need to the world, and I knew that it's now more than ever that people would want to hear this and see this and accept this offering. I started pushing myself little by little, and so that's something that I feel like I'm still in the process of doing, but definitely I think fear is one thing that I would tell my younger self. That fear is definitely an illusion. So
Right, right. So powerful. I think I'm going to remember that. Fear is an illusion. One habit or practice that you'd say had the biggest influence in your life?
I think waking up early in the morning and just having that 1 hour of whatever it is that I want to do. So for me, it would be practicing yoga, or even sometimes just sitting and writing, journaling, or meditating, or even just giving yourself those 5 minutes before you jump into your day to just be, and to not do anything, to not rush, to not allow your mind to go into different, tangents before you start your day. That, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, I haven't done this. Just before you get into that. And another great way of doing this is not looking at your phone the first thing you wake up in the morning. I think that is life changing. And if you can, like I remember I would before before the pandemic hit, and I would go to the studio to practice and to teach, I wouldn't see my phone till 12. From 6 a.m. to 12 in the afternoon, I wouldn't look at my phone unless I had to make a call or whatever. And it was so refreshing, because then you're really with your own voice, you're really present. And I feel like you can do any practice in the morning that just gives you those few minutes of true presence that will really change the way your day flows.
I'm a huge endorser of no phone in the first 1 hour of waking up, and yeah, I completely agree.
I know, I've seen that on your page.
It changes
For
your
sure.
entire flow of the day. Yeah. A person you admire the most and probably what you learned from them.
Oh, I think my mother, I admire her the most. Um, and also my guru, my teacher. Um, I feel like they both have been played a very pivotal role in my life, in my journey. And my mom is also into alternative healing, and just watching her, like, for all of us, like, moms are a role model only because of what they have achieved. And I feel like just looking at her running the house, running the family, managing everything, being the multitasker, there's so much to learn. And of course, there's so much that I have learned from her journey, from her struggles, and just watching that transformation in her has really, made me feel like in awe of her, and I really look up to her for that. And my teacher, he's the most integrated person that you will ever meet. And I think the true sense of yoga, and he's taught me more about yoga as life than yogasana. I mean, that anyone can teach you, but just how to be so damn integrated in every sense is what I learned from him. And these two people in my lives are just, it's who they are. They don't really do anything to show that. It's just them being who they are that has inspired me so much.
Right. Beautiful and so powerful, right? Just a way of being, inspiring others to be a different person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And today is Guru Purnima also when we're recording. That's it's lovely how
Oh
you brought
yes,
that
it
up.
is. It is. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
beautiful. If I were to ask you three must-haves in your daily routine, what would that be?
Yogasana for sure. I think meditation or yoga nidra or any kind of stillness,
Mhm.
and music. I think, just listening to music can, I think music really does change the world, makes the world go round for sure.
Right.
And I want to add a good book. I think reading a good book can really, I think must have, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. And while we're on the books, what would you be your top three books if you had to pick?
Top three would definitely be The Celestine Prophecy. This is for people who want to, kind of understand life beyond the physicality of it. Like, we spoke of spirit and matter, and I feel like if you truly want to understand that, this book is written as fiction and it comes under fiction, but there are so many golden truths and insights into this book. I think I can read it over and over again, and I have read it twice already, and every time, the second time that I read it, it just was watering different things in me. So each time you read it, it'll water something different in you. So definitely Celestine Prophecy. Um, I also love 40 Rules of Love by Elif Shafak. It's a beautiful book about Rumi and his partner or his guru or mentor, Shams of Tabriz. And if you want to understand Rumi, then read this book, because then you will understand where his poetry comes from, where that love comes from. So that's my second. And my third, I think, would be Biology of Belief. I think that's a powerful book by Bruce Lipton. He talks about how your beliefs can change your biology, because at the end of the day, it's that mind-body connection, that spirit and matter connection, that whatever you kind of mentally affirm to is going to create your reality. So if you believe that you are unhealthy, and your mental chatter is like a tape recorder in your mind that I'm unhealthy, even while you're eating something, and you keep guilting yourself saying, I'm unhealthy, I shouldn't do this, it's going to create some kind of imbalance in your life. It's going to create an upset stomach. So this is a very basic example, but he goes into details about it and his entire life's research and how he was one of the scientists who was not really, um, you know, um, he wasn't really encouraged in his time when he came out with this work that said that, genetics does not matter. It's actually your beliefs that can change your biology, your whole genetic makeup. So it's a very interesting book. So yeah, I definitely recommend that.
Interesting. I'm going to get to 1 and 3 some point soon, but I think what you said last, right, with all the study of epigenetics, I think they're getting to prove that with science as well, that our beliefs change.
Definitely.
Okay, so this might be tricky for you, but what is your go-to asana?
Oh, Shavasana. I'm a total sucker for like any kind of rest. But I also feel like I gravitate more towards it, especially now in my life. I gravitate more towards rest and restoration, only because I feel like my body needs it. Like on most days, my practice is not very dynamic. Of course, I do dynamic stuff to begin with, but my go-to for anything, if I am, feeling down, or if I've just had a bad day, or if I'm just too much into my head, which we always are. It's just human nature to like just analyze, think, overthink. You're so much into your head. The most simple thing and the most efficient thing that I can do is just lay down and just let everything go and surrender to earth. So I feel like, my go-to asana is Shavasana.
I think I could use some of that
which is
now.
also the toughest pose, actually. Yeah. So interestingly, when I went to the Iyengar Institute recently, the teacher over there, he very nicely said that Shavasana is actually the most difficult pose, because today it's so hard for us to let go and to surrender to anything, that going into a Shavasana is not that easy. And I feel like maybe even for me in the beginning, to do Yoga Nidra was not that easy, to not move for so long. But I always enjoyed it. And it's really nice to see it as a perspective. To start your yoga class, this is what I do. I start my class, with movement, and where you're doing your dynamic things, you're sweating, you're doing your asanas. And then at the end of the day, you are kind of detaching yourself. You're moving from action, you're moving to restoration. And it's also known as the two pillars, Abhyas and Vairagya. So Abhyas means to study.
Mm-hmm.
So I always see my yoga class as you're in it, you're studying, you're doing your movements, you're doing your asanas, you're doing, holding and breathing and all of that. And then you're moving into Vairagya, to Shavasana, where you're just letting go. You're letting go of any attachment to any of those poses that you've done, and you're just completely being in allowance. So I feel like that if you look at Shavasana like that, like you're going from being attached or being in total action to being in total detachment and total relaxation.
Right.
So yeah, that's just something I wanted to add.
Beautiful. And I feel personally attacked. I think even letting go and surrendering is something that even I'm working on, because you're so on the go, right? Even if I were to rest, when you rest, you start suddenly remember 10 other things you have to do, and you suddenly get back to it because you're like, oh gosh, you'll forget again.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. One habit that makes you healthier, happier, and productive, what would that be?
Definitely the most recent habit that I've been incorporating is checking myself every time I am judging myself or being overly self-critical, or going into this self-defeating mental chatter that, okay, today, supposing I didn't do this or I failed at something, immediately our minds just go into that, loop of like, oh my God, you should have done this way, or you should not have done this, or, all of that and it's always there. Like we don't realize that our mental chatter is constantly telling us of how we either can do better, or how we should not have done this, or how this should be this way, or there's never any satisfaction. Like nothing is ever enough. So I feel like that is a practice that has really, really helped me. And just checking myself every time I slip into that mental chatter, that bashing myself up for something, I just stop and I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, just being an allowance of me screwing up, being an allowance of me not getting it right, being an allowance of me, not having my day progress the way I want to, or whatever, So, yeah, that's
Right.
one thing.
Beautiful. So just being aware of our thoughts and how we speak to ourselves.
Yeah.
So I call the voice in my head belittler, because it just comes and just continuously keeps belittling
Yes.
me. So now I have a name for it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I will not let you
And
have my way.
yeah, for sure. And if you've seen the movie Luca, you should watch it. It's a really good animated film. I was watching it with a friend, and in that film, because you said belittler, it reminded me, because there are two characters, the main characters, and one of the character is kind of like very enthusiastic and adventurous, and the other character is very shy and timid, and is cautious, doesn't want to kind of push himself into that. So he says something that really stuck with me. He told that his friend, that every time you have that voice in your head that is making you fearful or doubting yourself, he would say silencio Bruno, like silencio, like silencing his mental voice, who he calls Bruno, like how you call it belittler. So it's an Italian film, like it's they have this Italian accent. So he says silencio Bruno. So I feel like that's what I also remind myself every time I do that. I just tell myself silencio Bruno. So it's quite interesting.
Okay. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. One last question for you, Shaili. What is the one thing that you would probably want the listener to take away from our conversation today? Very hard considering how many things we spoke about, but
I know there's a lot, but I feel like one thing that I would want you, like whoever's listening, to take away is that I think just being present in whatever you do, like from just moment to moment, being utterly present, whether it's even if you're watching Netflix, we're always, even while watching Netflix, we're so distracted, on our phones, checking social media, somebody's calling, so just being super present, whether you are working or whether you are having a conversation with a friend, or whether you're Netflixing, or whatever it is that you're doing, just being absolutely present. And if for some reason you can't feel present, one exercise that I always do with myself is that if I'm sitting, I'll just become aware of my sitting bones. I'll feel my butt resting on the surface. I'll feel my legs crossed. I'll feel my feet on the floor if I'm sitting on a chair. I'll just take my awareness to my bodily sensations, drop into your body. What do you feel? Do you feel light? Do you feel heavy? Is there tightness in my shoulder? Okay, I'm aware of the tightness in my shoulder. I'm aware of like my slight headache. I'm aware that I'm hungry. So these little sensations, when you take your awareness to that, it automatically makes you more present. And I think that you can do this practice. You can close your eyes. You can keep your eyes open. Give yourself 30 seconds to just come back to this now moment, because we are either regretting the past or worrying about the future. And then in that process, we never are truly present. And I think all practices, whether it's yoga, whether it's anything that you do, especially yoga, it is the whole fundamental quality is to come into the present moment, to unite yourself completely in this now moment, because if you are rooted in your now, you can create anything. You can create magic. There are so many possibilities, you know. So I feel like that's something that I would want to give away, because that's something I've been also working on myself, that to be utterly present every single moment, no matter what I'm doing, even if I'm totally depressed or sad or like, crying my eyes out, or, just having a release, like being absolutely present with that emotion, with that feeling, even being present with having a bad day. So yeah, that's just something that I want to give away.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Shelly. I think I personally love the conversation. I always love our conversations, but I'm sure this will be great for our listeners as well. And there's so many takeaways that I have personally, and I'm sure others will find so much value. So thank you so much. Uh, I know you're camera shy, but you still came up and shared your thoughts with us. Thank you so much for making that exception. Also, we are
Not at
truly,
all.
truly glad.
Not at all. I'm so happy and honored that you invited me to this podcast. And I feel like there's so much that I learned from you and your page as well. And I'm just so grateful that we could meet on social media and, just kind of bounce off each other's good vibrations. And so grateful for you to have started your page. I think it really makes a difference to me when I see your posts, and I'm sure that so many other people benefit from it. And yeah, just thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shelly. Thank you.